Hi, third graders. Welcome back to another day reading Fantastic Mr. Fox. Today we're going to be reading chapters 10 and 11. Just as a review of some of the things that we've read so far in previous chapters, we know that the farmers really want to catch and kill Mr. Fox. The farmers have tried to shoot him a few times, but were not successful. The farmers have now started to dig, trying to get to Mr. Fox. Mr. Fox and his family have started digging and are now safely too deep for the shovels to get to them. The farmers went and they got mechanical shovels, which created a huge hole in the hill. The Fox family kept digging, and they're safe for now, but the farmers don't seem to be giving up anytime soon. After digging, Mr. Fox has an idea to save his family. His family is beginning to starve because they have not had any food in a few days. And that's where we left off. Today, our big question that we're going to focus on is, what was Mr. Fox's plan? Was he successful? Remember, good readers always need to back up their questions or their answers with evidence from the text. So when we answer the question, was Mr. Fox's plan successful? We need to say why or why not using evidence from the text. One vocabulary word that we're going to want to know today is the word downward. And if you're moving in a downward motion, that means that you're moving down towards a lower place. So think about going down a set of stairs, you're moving downward. All right, chapter 10. Boggis's Chicken House, number 1. This time we must go a very special direction, said Mr. Fox, pointing sideways and downward. So he and his 4 children started to dig once again. The work went much more slowly now, yet they kept at it with great courage, and little by little the tunnel began to grow. Dad, I wish you would tell us where we were going, said one of the children. I dare not do that, said Mr. Fox, because the place I am hoping to get is so marvelous that if I described it to you now, you would go crazy with excitement. And then, if we failed to get there, which is very possible, you would die of disappointment. I don't want to raise your hopes too much, my darlings. For a long, long time, they kept on digging. For how long, they did not know, because there were no days and no nights down there in the murky tunnel. But at last, Mr. Fox gave the order to stop. I think, he said, we better take a peep upstairs now and see where we are. I know where I want to be, but I can't possibly be sure we're anywhere near it. Let's stop there for a second and think to ourselves, what is Mr. Fox's plan so far? And how are the small foxes a part of that plan? You can go ahead and pause the video and think about this question to yourself. What is Mr. Fox's plan? And how are the small foxes part of the plan? Once you're ready to talk about the answer, you can press play again. So Mr. Fox's plan so far is that he's trying to dig to a certain destination, right? We're not quite sure where yet because he hasn't told us, but we know that he has a very specific destination that he is trying to get to. How are the small foxes a part of the plan is that they're being really resilient, and even though they're tired and even though they're hungry, they're showing a lot of courage, and they're still helping Mr. Fox dig and dig and dig and get to that final destination. Slowly, wearily, the fox began to slope the tunnel up towards the surface. Up and up it went, until suddenly they came to something hard above their heads, and they couldn't go up any further. Mr. Fox reached up to examine the hard thing. "It's wood," he whispered. "Wooden planks." "What does that mean, Dad?" "It means, unless I am very much mistaken, that we are right underneath somebody's house," whispered Mr. Fox. "Be very quiet now while I take a peek." Carefully, Mr. Fox began pushing up one of the floorboards. The board creaked most terribly. They all ducked down, waiting for something awful to happen. Nothing did. So Mr. Fox pushed up a second board, and then, very, very cautiously, he poked his head up through the gap. He let out a shriek of excitement. "I've done it!" he yelled. "I've done it! First time! It's done! I've done it! I've done it!" He pulled himself up through the gap in the floor and started prancing and dancing with joy. "Come on up!" he sang out. "Come up and see where you are, my darlings. What a sight for a hungry fox! Hallelujah! Hurrah! Hooray!" The 4 small foxes scrambled up out of the tunnel, and what a fantastic sight it was that now met their eyes. They were in a huge shed, and the whole place was teeming with chickens. There were white chickens and brown chickens and black chickens by the thousands. "Buggis's chicken house #1!" cried Mr. Fox. "It's exactly what I was aiming at. I hit it slap in the middle. First time. Isn't that fantastic? And, if I may say so, rather clever." The small foxes went wild with excitement. They started running around in all directions, chasing the stupid chickens. "Wait," ordered Mr. Fox. "Don't lose your heads. Stand back. Calm down. Let's do this properly. First of all, everyone, have a drink of water." They all ran over to the chickens' drinking trough and lapped up the lovely cool water. Then Mr. Fox chose 3 of the plumpest hens, and with a clever flick of his jaws, he killed them instantly. "Back to the tunnel," he ordered. "Come on." "No fooling around. The quicker you move, the quicker you shall have something to eat." One after another, they climbed down through the hole in the floor, and soon they were all standing once again in the dark tunnel. Mr. Fox reached up and pulled the floorboard back into place. He did that with good care. He did it so that no one could tell that it had ever been moved. "My son," he said, giving the 3 plump hens to the biggest of his 4 small children, "run back with these to your mother. Tell her to prepare a feast. Tell her the rest of us will be along in a jiffy, as soon as we have made a few other little arrangements." So we know that so far, Mr. Fox and the 4 small foxes were able to dig a tunnel all the way to Buggis's chicken house #1. And we know that they were able to get some hens and chickens, so hopefully they're going to have something to eat now. Let's read chapter 11 to find out what happens next. Remember, what we're thinking about as we read is, what is Mr. Fox's plan? Was he successful? And why or why not, using evidence from the text. Chapter 11, A Surprise for Mrs. Fox. The small fox ran back along the tunnel as fast as he could, carrying the 3 plump hens. He was exploring with joy. "Just wait," he kept thinking. "Just wait till Mommy sees these." He had a long way to run, but he never stopped once on the way, and he came bursting in upon Mrs. Fox. "Mommy," he cried out of breath. "Look, Mommy, look! Wake up and see what I've brought you." Mrs. Fox, who was weaker than ever now from lack of food, opened one eye and looked at the hens. "I'm dreaming," she murmured, and closed her eyes again. "You're not dreaming, Mommy. They're real chickens. We're saved. We're not going to starve." Mrs. Fox opened both eyes and sat up quickly. "But, my dear child," she cried, "where on earth?" "Buggis's chicken house #1, spluttered the small fox. "We tunneled right up under the floor, and you've never seen so many big fat hens in all your life. And Dad said to prepare a feast. They'll be back soon." The sight of food seemed to give a new strength to Mrs. Fox. "A feast it shall be," she said, standing up. "Oh, what a fantastic fox your father is! Hurry up, child, and start plucking those chickens." Far away, down in the tunnel, the fantastic Mr. Fox was saying, "Now for the next bit, my darlings. This one'll be easy as pie. All we have to do is dig another little tunnel from here to there." "To where, Dad?" "Don't ask so many questions. Start digging." Alrighty, so in the beginning of our reading today, we said that our big question was going to be, what is Mr. Fox's plan, and was he successful? Why or why not? So we know so far Mr. Fox has been successful. His plan was to dig and get to Bogus's chicken house number 1. He was able to do that, and we know he was successful because they were able to take some chickens and bring them back to Mrs. Fox. So the question was he successful? Yes, so far he's been successful. How do I know that? Because he was able to secure some chickens and bring them back to Mrs. Fox. But now I want you to think to yourself, something that good readers do is they predict what's going to happen next. At the end of chapter 11, Mr. Fox was saying that they were going to go from here to there. I want you to make a prediction about where you think there might be. Where do you think Mr. Fox and the small foxes are going to go from here? So take and think about everything we've learned so far in this story. What do you predict will happen next? Where do you think Mr. Fox and the small foxes are going to go from here? You can type your answer in the comments below on the YouTube channel. And we'll see everyone tomorrow for the next few chapters.